All right, let's jump right into this explainer and explore a profound, everyday miracle that happens every single time you close your eyes. Seriously, tonight, something is going to happen to you that no scientist has ever entirely figured out. You are going to disappear. Not your physical body, not your brain, but your conscious self, you. I mean, think about it. If your brain literally never stops working, where exactly do you go? You just completely lose all awareness of time and your surroundings. Imagine sitting on your couch on a Tuesday afternoon and suddenly losing 8 hours of time. You'd probably assume you were abducted by aliens. Yet every single night we all experience this massive gap, and we just wake up the next morning completely believing we are the exact same person.
Because the truth is, every night, you will lose the continuous experience of being yourself. We willingly surrender our identity, just handing over our minds to a biological process that we still barely understand. You are trusting your brain with literally the most valuable thing you have, your identity, and you just assume that tomorrow's version of you will still be, well, you.
Section 1. The brain's night shift. A busy, unconscious state.
For the longest time in human history, we kind of just assumed sleep was your brain hitting the off switch to get some rest. But the reality is way stranger, and it's basically a tale of two entirely different states. First, you have NREM sleep, which gives us those slow, deep, rhythmic brain waves. But then, there's REM sleep. During REM, your body is completely paralyzed by something called muscle atonia, so you can't move. But your brain, it is consuming a massive amount of energy. If you look at the EEG readings, they show high-frequency, low-voltage activity that is firing almost exactly as if you were wide awake.
And this is perfectly captured by something called the AIM model. It essentially proves that sleep isn't just a static rest period. All throughout the night, your brain is dynamically shifting its activation energy. It's completely changing its information flow from external sights and sounds to internal memories, and it's constantly altering how it processes data. It's this beautiful, wildly complex three-dimensional dance of neurochemistry.
Section 2. Editing your identity. The nightly reset. So you might be wondering, what exactly is your hyperactive brain doing with all that energy while you're completely checked out of reality? Well, get this. We spend a full third of our lives, literally 33% of our entire existence, in this unconscious state. That is a massive chunk of time completely dedicated to fundamentally editing who we are. Because every single day, your brain gets absolutely flooded with data, far more than your conscious mind could ever possibly handle. So it spends the night shift sorting it all out. It keeps the important lessons and strips away the irrelevant noise. But even more incredibly, it replays your emotional experiences while you're safely paralyzed in bed. Why? To detach the negative emotional intensity from painful memories. It literally separates the raw, factual event from the anxiety that was attached to it. It's exactly like a gardener carefully trimming a tree. By letting go of the noise and all that emotional dead weight, this nightly pruning literally shapes your personality. The calm person, the anxious person, the confident person, none of them are built in a single day. They're shaped through thousands of nights, just one silent, unconscious adjustment at a time.
Section 3. Glitches and ancient rhythms.
Now, the border between being awake and being asleep is surprisingly porous. We tend to think of sleep as just one solid, uninterrupted block, right? But modern life has actually completely disrupted our natural biological cycle. For roughly 300,000 years, human beings experienced a biphasic sleep cycle. You went to sleep at sunset, woke up around midnight for this really quiet, meditative state, and then went back to sleep until sunrise. Today, if we wake up at 2 a.m., instead of quietly meditating, we usually just doom scroll on our phones and call it insomnia.
And the lines between waking and sleeping blur even further in edge cases like sleep paralysis or lucid dreaming, which proves your waking mind and your dreaming mind can actually overlap. When you lucid dream, a specific area of your brain called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is basically your logic and self-awareness center, suddenly boots up right in the middle of REM sleep. It creates this crazy hybrid state where your waking self-awareness literally sneaks into the dream world.
Section 4. The spiritual mind. Ancient perspectives.
What's absolutely fascinating is how this biological mystery links up seamlessly with ancient spiritual insights. While modern neuroscientists track brainwaves, ancient thinkers were exploring the exact same territory, just through a different lens. For instance, in Buddhist philosophy, there's this concept of bhavanga chitta, or the ground of becoming. The core idea here is that your mind doesn't just vanish during deep, dreamless sleep. Instead, it drops down into its most fundamental underlying state. It's totally stripped of the ego and the waking world's chaos.
acting as the subtle canvas that all our waking experiences are painted on.
And we see these incredible parallels across totally different traditions. Buddhist metaphysics describes sleep as finding balance, literally like perfectly tuning the strings of an instrument so it's not too tight and not too loose. Meanwhile, Jewish mysticism views sleep as 1/60th of death. It's seen as a time when the conscious soul temporarily ascends to higher spiritual realms, leaving the physical body at rest to commune with the divine. But both traditions entirely agree on one thing: sleep is a profound, absolutely necessary reset for the human soul.
Which brings us to this really beautiful realization. Sleep strips away the ego. It is the one time of day when we finally stop trying to do and we start learning how to just be. Kind of like the biblical story of Jacob's ladder, where Jacob encounters the divine only when he hits a point of sheer exhaustion in the desert. Sleep forces us to strip away our worldly anxieties, surrender control, and simply exist.
Section 5. Who wakes up tomorrow? The morning after.
So after all that neurological pruning, the emotional detaching, and the deep spiritual reset, what actually happens when the sun comes up? Well, you don't simply wake up. You are handed back a slightly edited version of your life. You're handed back a mind that has healed, adapted, and changed in microscopic, totally invisible, but incredibly powerful ways. You have literally been reshaped by the night.
Which leads us with the ultimate, mind-bending mystery to ponder. If your brain is actively editing your memories, trimming away your emotional pain, and your mind is fundamentally resetting itself every single night, who exactly is the you that wakes up each morning? Sleep isn't just about resting your tired muscles. It's the invisible, ongoing process of becoming someone entirely new. So tonight, when you close your eyes, I want you to ask yourself, who will I be tomorrow?